pastoral care, pastoral counseling, coaching. They're different, but I've been able to meld the three different disciplines together on the coaching side. Life coaching is listening to people well, asking good questions, reflecting back what they're saying, helping them discover what's inside of them that they may not have seen before.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Book Leads Impactful Books for Life and Leadership. I'm your series host and leadership performance coach, John Jaramillo. This podcast series is about getting to the books that have impacted the lives of the people in my network. So these are great leads in these conversations to get to those books that have made the most impact on who they are as a person, their profession, their personal life, all of it, all those worlds intersect. And my guest today is Harland Merriam. And Harland is a pastor, coach, real estate investor, and trusted guide for faith-driven entrepreneurs. With decades of experience in ministry and business, Harland knows the tension between outward success and inner rest, and the power of walking that journey in community. Through mastermind groups, retreats, and one-on-one coaching, he helps men and women align, work with their faith, uncover what truly matters, and build lasting impact without losing their souls in the process. Harland lives in DeLand, Florida with his wife, Barbara. He drinks homemade kombucha, grows daylilies, and believes that the best success stories are the ones where God gets the glory. Harland, thank you so much for sitting down for this conversation with me.
Certainly, and the daylilies are just getting blooming here in the spring right now, so it's really wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great time of year. Harland, for you, obviously, it's a fascinating combination of pastor, coach, real estate investor, trusted guide. So to understand who's going to be sharing this book with us, who are you today? How would you describe the work you do day in and day out across all those different roles? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think I carry a pastor's heart, John, whatever I'm doing. I am repurposed now. I'm not serving a congregation. I'm not a chaplain in the military like I was for 30 some years. I've moved more primarily into business and primarily into multifamily investing in business. But I carry a pastor's heart into that. I really enjoy being with people. I've always enjoyed that. And creating a space where we can get honest with each other. As students at the university where I'm an interim chaplain right now, with the entrepreneurs that are in the mastermind group with me right now as well.
So Harland, to understand how you got here, can you walk me through, your life? I tend to start with maybe high school into the workforce or into higher ed, whatever the path may have been for you. What does that look like from then to now? Just to kind of see the major pivot points in your life that led to who you are and what you're doing today.
Good question, and good to look back on that. I'm back in DeLand, Florida. I grew up here. My dad was on the faculty at Stetson University, where I'm serving as chaplain right now. We left for 40 some years and came back, but high school was a wonderful time. Played tennis in high school, was president of the student body in our high school here. We just had a 50th anniversary a couple of years ago, and it was fun to pull that together, seeing classmates from near and far. I have always been curious about things. I ended up being a math physics major when I went to university and moved into math and physics, really just curious about the world. As a kid, I would take things apart and put them back together again. Just study people, study things. I met my wife, who is now, we're 54 years celebrating our marriage this year.
Congratulations. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
we met in kindergarten, John, if you can believe it. I
That's
joke about
incredible.
this because I didn't like her then. She was a girl.
Yeah, yeah. Tends to be the case at that age, yeah.
Yeah, we lived in the same neighborhood, went to the same church, went to the same schools, elementary, junior high, high school. I double dated with her and my best friend. She was dating my best friend in high school, and we double dated. And then walked in college to an American Studies class together, right through the doors together to the first class. ended up in a study group together, and things just went on from there. We were married before we graduated from college.
Wow, that's incredible. So
Yeah.
yeah, then after college,
Yeah. Vietnam War was on when I was in college, so I was in ROTC, one way to get a deferment from going in right away. Also, I guess my scouting, I was proud to be in this country, and so I signed up for ROTC and really enjoyed that quite a bit. The Vietnam War was winding down, so I didn't need to be in the military right away. They gave me a deferment to go to graduate school. I looked at several math, physics graduate schools to do a master's, but a custodian that I had come to know growing up in town pulled me aside one day and said, I had a vision about you, Harland. He was a guy from the Jamaica, wonderful accent, great guy. And he said, I had a vision about you. You're going to be a minister. I said, what? It was, I had 10 top things I wanted to do and 10 bottom things I wanted to do. And being a minister was one of the 10 bottom things I wanted to do. But something about his statement and who he was stuck with me. And then an ROTC uh, commandant spoke to me, Colonel Richardson, and he said, Harlan, do you know we need good chaplains in the military? Consider that. So he saw something in me. Johnson Roberts, the custodian, saw something in me. So I talked to Barbara and she says, okay. And we went up to Princeton Theological Seminary and 3
what
years
do you
there. Yeah.
looking back, what do you think it was that each of them saw in you? Because I'm assuming it was at different phases in your life. So what was
Yeah.
it the janitor saw in you, and then what was it that the other gentleman saw in you? What do you believe it was? Aside
Good.
from what they say, what do you view
Yeah.
from your side?
Both of them knew that I was involved as a Christian still, even though in college. That's not always the case. I'd provided some leadership at the church with a contemporary service. Thinking the old traditional fuddy-duddy service was something I, as a 19, 20-year-old, not sure about. So we brought guitars in and sang and did things differently, met in a different space. Maybe they saw that I was enjoying doing that. I also think they just knew me better. We'd spent time talking about deeper things with both of them. The Colonel Richardson was my primary military instructor as I became the S3 for the battalion at Stetson, which means I had to plan all the operations of the battalion we were in. And that relationship with him, he probably saw some things in me. I think he did. And he challenged me and says, you got an opportunity here. Go give it a shot. And so we went off to Princeton, and I went ill prepared, John. As a math physics major, I never took any religion courses. I didn't take any Bible courses in college. With my peers at the seminary, many of them had done that, were well prepared. And it was a challenging year. The vocabulary, the books I was reading, the things I was doing, but it really was thrilling to be involved in that.
So there's always this kind of comparison or bifurcation in life between like sciences and the sciences and religion.
Yeah.
So you having a foot in each of those worlds coming up, how do you reconcile the sciences with the religion, with your faith? And I don't ask that to question it, but what words do you put to that in terms of seeing that deep value to both those sides of life?
Yeah, I like the way you put that at the end there. Deep value to both sides there. And both sides have, I think, in error, saw the other side as not appropriate, not good. The motto at Stetson University, where I'm serving right now as chaplain, is for God and for truth. Both. There's an and in there, not an or. A lot of us make an or. For God and for truth, both of them. And I've been able to reconcile that in my life. I must I love to study. I love to ask questions. I love to doubt things and then to look for the answers in them. I guess that's the scientist in me. On the faith side is learning to trust beyond my own self, my own brain, my own knowledge.
What is Stetson's, because that's their phrase or their motto. What is, obviously when a school has any kind of phrase or motto, you know the history behind it, you know what drives that particular
Mhm.
motto. What is theirs? How do they speak to that?
They have they have, like many of us, bounced from one end to the other over their life here in DeLand, Florida. For a long time, they were Southern Baptist University, and so the for God part of it was primary in there. They split from the Southern Baptist in the 90s, became more of a secular university in that time, and the For Truth side really raised itself up. It hadn't been lost before, but it just raised itself up there, and it's coming back now in these years to combining the two together a lot more.
So then, and I think heard you mention the Scouts too. So you were in the
Mhm,
Scouts
mhm.
before so what prompted that? Was that curiosity on your end? Was it your parents that got you into it?
Yeah, probably my peers. Getting in Scouts is fun. We went camping, we made fires, we played with hatchets, we hiked in the woods, we Uh, it was fun hiking the Appalachian Trail, getting out of flat Florida and getting up to the Appalachian Trail and hiking it.
Yeah.
It was a good time, and then it was a time to experience leadership as a young man, to step into leadership there as a 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old.
So then Princeton, right? Seminary. Can you
Mm-hmm.
tell me a little bit about that process, the journey and afterwards?
Oh, I was there at the right time. Maybe every student says that about the universities where they are, but we had some really, I call them tall oaks of professors that had really dedicated themselves to the scriptures, to theology, to practical things like preaching and church history. Bernard Anderson was one of the uh, key professors. Bruce Metzger, who was the chief editor of the Revised Standard Version and the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible, was a professor at Princeton. I still remember, though, one of the professors there in the Greek class I had during the summer to learn biblical Greek. And that was the hardest course I'd ever taken in my life, even harder than differential equations or some of the others in the math side of it. But he was the most supportive professor I've ever had. A small group through the summer, every day, 6, 7 hours a day, studying the vocabulary, studying the grammar. He pushed us hard, 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 and yet he kind of held our hands to get us across the difficult chasms of that learning.
That's such a great combination to be able to push somebody into doing something that's hard, that doesn't come, it's not intuitive, doesn't come easy, but doing it in such a way that encourages them to keep moving forward. You know,
Yeah.
there's certain professors that just have that ability to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
just a statistics professor I had in college in graduate school stands out. I took statistics in undergraduate and got maybe a B, and that was like torturing myself going through everything. And then in graduate school, I got, 4.0 in that class, and it was tough, but it wasn't as tough because of the passion that this professor had for it, the way he explained it, the way he shared it, the way he would assist you if you needed help. There was something about that passion that just made it a little easier to understand. And then you wanted to understand it because he was just so into it that it was great to have that experience with him. So I appreciate all those teachers, professors, guides that can do that for someone.
Even military commanders in my work in the military
Yeah.
that were able to, the mission is primary, but you're important to me. uh, learning those, that's the both and here again, isn't it, John, with that? It's one of the nice things about Stetson. It's a smaller university and the class sizes are smaller and the students really get to know their professors. The professors care about them. You can just see it in this
Yeah.
campus. Uh, I think that's as important as getting the big oaks that I got at Princeton, although some of them were tremendous professors as people as well.
Yeah, there's so many things that seem to be paradoxes in this world that don't need to be.
Right.
Whether you're for science or for religion, they seem to be pitted against each other. Whether it is support of a professor versus the accountability for the material to the material. So anytime we come up against these environments that kind of meld these two worlds, whatever two worlds they are, and kind of demonstrate the value of one to the other and vice versa. It's just, we're very lucky to come
Yeah.
into those environments.
Yeah.
So was your wife studying while she was with you up at Princeton as well, or?
No, she got her PhD, the put hubby through. She was a teacher. I call her the child whisperer. She had a great first years teaching at in the Princeton area up there in preschool. Had a single she half a day she was in with four other teachers with an older, wiser teacher that really helped mentor her in that classroom setting, an open classroom setting in the 70s like that. And then in the afternoon, she's in a single classroom by herself. So both of those gave her that yin and the yang of teaching with others and by yourself. And then she's taught all the way through, but she paid the bills while I was at Princeton.
What
She
a
probably
hero.
learned more than I did, but she paid the bills.
So for you after school, what was the path afterwards?
Yeah. So I was commissioned when I left Stetson as in the Signal Corps in the Army. It was would likely have gone back to that, but the Army had uh, an approach called the Chaplain Candidate Program that I entered while I was at Princeton, and it was a way for the Army and for me to see if chaplain was right for both of us, a good fit for both of us. I did make the branch transfer afterwards into the Chaplain Corps from the Signal Corps, and did that as in the Army Reserve, John. Those years, pastor, associate pastor for a couple of times in churches in Virginia and North Carolina. Great senior pastors there that were just great to work with. Not everybody gets that. Um, I had some great ones, and then in Dallas, stayed in the reserves, kept advancing in rank in that. Really enjoyed the. That's another point counterpoint from a Presbyterian congregation to a military setting where I'm chaplain for everybody. I'm to provide for the religious support on behalf of the commander for everybody in the unit. They were kind of like Barbara's teaching piece there. I was learning in both settings so much, and being able to serve in both settings.
Yeah, it's incredible. Just all the different areas that you go to, parts of the country that have their
Mhm.
own culture, flavor,
Mhm.
emphasis on religion, the types of religion.
Right.
So please go on. So Dallas, and then
Yeah, in Dallas, I served with a professor I had at Union Seminary, where I went to get my doctorate later. And Bill Carl was pastor at First Presbyterian Church, right downtown Dallas, right across from the where Lee Harvey Oswald was shot. In that area in Dallas, a big church, a wonderful church. Great to be able to serve with him, learn from him. He taught preaching in the seminary, homiletics. Super smart guy. Went on to be president of Pittsburgh Seminary up in Pennsylvania as well. That was a great experience. And then on from there to a pastorate myself in Beaumont, Texas, right on the edge of Louisiana and Texas near Houston, Cajun country. Some really great people that I was able to serve with and get to know in that whole community there.
through there, after there.
Well, was at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church in Beaumont, Texas for over 20 years. And then, as some would call it, I retired from there. But I call it repurposed as we came back to DeLand 10, 11 years ago now. All along, I was serving as an Army Reserve chaplain, all the way to colonel, serving three two-star commanders over the years in divisions. And after 9/11, John, they called me back. I'd actually retired, and they found a way to call me back. A three-star general in the Pentagon couldn't get me back. Four-star general in the Pentagon couldn't get me back. But a clerk in the basement in St. Louis found an error in my record from 1973 that allowed the military to pull me back after retiring me, put me on active duty, and help train chaplain assistants that were heading over to that Gulf War.
So what is that? Something like you needed more years, or like
There were
something to that effect?
In the Army Reserve, you get points for different things that you do, and I didn't get enough points that year in 1973. They thought I did, but they found an error, or maybe they created one. I don't know.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I guess this just shows, because like, come on, they're like, hey, we want you to come back. You're like, nah, I'm all set. No, please come back. You know, it's a 4-star general. Please come. Nah, I'm all set. And then
guess what? Yeah. And the balloon went up, we call it. So we got the message that we're headed to mobilize, and I get picked up by this training division that we were training the Guard and the Reserve, that we're going to train up and get qualified and go overseas. I did that for almost 3 years.
So, okay. So at what point the other side of your work, the other side of your bio, and I love how in the last couple months I've networked with different people that have reached retirement age or the point of retirement, whatever you want to call it. And then they kind of reach this purpose recalibration or new chapters or whatever you want to call it. But their retirement was not traditional. It wasn't the typical looking retirement. It was opening up new chapters, the later chapters in their years. So for you, when I read your bio about pastor, coach, investing, at what point do the coaching and investing, is the coaching related to, I know it's related to the investment, but also to the pastoral side of things, or is it just
absolutely. I mean, pastoral care, pastoral counseling, coaching, they're different. But I've been able to meld the three different disciplines together on the coaching side. Just plain life coaching is listening to people well, asking good questions, reflecting back what they're saying, helping them discover what's inside of them that they may not have seen before.
So before we jump into that, then, how did you end your military service? Are you still in? I don't know. Did they pull you back?
I'm 76 right now. They could call me back, but probably not. That deployment and need was reduced after that time. We very quickly called up a lot of units, a lot of people, a lot of chaplain assistants. And so I worked with them until the point where basically my commander said, "Chaplain, we don't need you here anymore. You can retire again if you want to from that." I went back to the church I was serving. I'd been president of a very large Rotary Club before I left. I was significantly involved in that community in Beaumont, Texas. We started a continuing care retirement community while I was there. I gathered other churches together and gathered the money, the seed money for that, and then found a sponsor for that. The Baptist Association in Texas came in and picked it up, Buckner. It was really fun to watch that thing go from a concept, from a need. I was seeing the need as a pastor for older people that are getting dragged out of their roots in that town and taken to live with a son or a daughter somewhere else in the country, and they lost all their friends. I said, isn't there a way they can stay here and their kids can feel comfortable with them being here? And was aware of this whole industry called continuing care retirement communities. So we visioned one and got together, Catholic, Baptist, Methodist, Episcopal, Presbyterian, even the Jewish synagogue. And we pulled one off in that town, the first one in that town together, got it built. I was able to walk through it in my mind months, even years before it was actually built. I just knew what it was supposed to look like. It was fun.
That's incredible. Harlan, so at what point in your journey in these years when you got pulled in and then you were let go again? And so at what point in this area of your life, in these chapters of your life, are you dipping into real estate and investing? How do you make that shift? How do you, or not even shift, but pick that up into your arsenal?
Yeah, all the way along. Actually, I guess I'm following my dad and my grandfather, John. My dad was a college professor. My grandfather was a physician, a doctor. Both of them did real estate also. In my 20s, my sisters and I formed a partnership and bought a mobile home park together back when I was in my 20s. That work in real estate was off and on, depending on all the other demands on my life in that point. When I finished up in Texas and we moved back to Florida, I picked it back up again significantly, bought a nice portfolio of single family, joined some other real estate investors in the area here, really studied into that and moved into multifamily. Partner and I that found another partner and we bought a 128 unit apartment complex in Tallahassee together. Able to raise a couple $1 million from investors that we shared that concept with. John, I got to tell you, we bought it at just the wrong time. COVID hit 1 month after we closed on it. Talk about added unexpected worry. We had planned for contingencies and we made it through, but it was a challenge. Boy, did I learn a lot during those years of owning that apartment complex.
Yeah, I think anybody with any kind of contingency, COVID showed up and that contingency, may have served its purpose. In some cases, barely, but what a lesson. And it's incredible to think we just crossed 6 years since it was declared a pandemic.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a blur. I mean, I don't have to tell you, Harlan, you had your own stresses in that area, but it just seems like a blur. Stepping outside of the podcast conversation for a sec, I will still show this.
Sure.
Stepping outside the questions that I'm asking, what are your takeaways from COVID? That period, not so much your investing, but just in general, as a man of faith, as a man of science, as a man of, finance and investing, what are your takeaways from that period?
I still am sad about that period, John. Excuse me.
No, not at all.
Yeah. I had too many friends who were unable to be with their moms or their dads. They could look at them through a window at the nursing home. Funerals we couldn't have, put off, delayed. The fear of people, churches shutting down worship. I mean, we worshiped virtually eventually. I mean, that opened it up to a lot of more virtual worship times and availability to people. Just the fear of neighbors and friends, along with, as it changed, why did we have to do that? And why did we have to close the schools? And why did we have to do that? I had grandchildren at that time too, and realizing they're not in school, they're not with their friends. How's that going to affect them later in life, a year or more? I was chaplain at Stetson University when the students came back after COVID. I was interim there at that period, and they had lost that year of high school and graduation, or some that were coming back after losing a year of the university in a living together setting. They were doing some of the classes online. It messed up a lot of people.
So, Harlan, does it make sense? Actually, before I jump to the next question, and thank you for the COVID response and just your experience. So, at what point do you start writing? And we'll get to your book in a couple minutes,
Sure.
but writing and coaching as it pertains to investing. When do you pick up that mantle?
Yeah, again, all my life I've been coaching, maybe not calling it that. Pastoral counseling, being with people. Coaching came to me when I got into real estate, as I realized I could, as a repurposed pastor now with these friends that are in real estate, I could offer more than, here's what I'm learning about multifamily, here's how you underwrite a property. I could actually coach them, not in real estate, but in life as they were struggling with it in this area. So I began to coach other real estate investors at that point. I could talk the language with them. I understood what they were doing in that, but I really focused more on, rather than teaching, on helping them work through some of the challenges they were facing, some of the opportunities that were there for them.
Yeah, I see a need for that everywhere.
Yes.
Where life is just a lot of education, whether it's, grammar school into high school or middle school into high school into college, and we give all these kids this information and then they go into life and they have issues or they have troubles. And it's kind of like we gave them the information, but didn't really share with them the wisdom of how to really process it. So there's
Yeah.
such a great comparison between, yeah, you can do these things, but then the coaching that goes along with it, whatever the industry is, obviously, from the school example to real estate, just having that guidance of somebody to say, hey, I've been here before. Here's some things to consider. Here's some things to look out for. Here's some pitfalls. Nothing I share with you is going to smooth the path out completely, but it'll help you kind of keep an eye out and plan accordingly. So I appreciate that very much for anybody and to anybody that does that kind of coaching.
Anybody out there, find somebody. Don't go it alone. It was fascinating. The military unit I was in, the 75th Division, its motto, back to mottos again, was mentor, train, and coach. Mentoring, they're all three different. They're all three related, but they're all three different. Mentor is somebody who has been down the path before and will, share their wisdom with you so you don't have to do some things they did along the way there and that. We all need mentors. I've had some tremendous mentors through the years. And I still mentor others to this day. Training is another thing. I'm a good teacher. I'm a really solid teacher. And training is something I can do very well, but coaching is related to the first two, but it's not saying, here's what I know, I want you to know it, which mentoring and teaching, training are. It's, you know something already. I'll be your thinking partner on that and help you discover what you know already versus me telling you. You may discover the same thing I would have told you, but when you discover it from within you, you own it a whole lot more than if I try to teach it to you.
It's incredible when they realize like they already had the answer.
Yeah.
I work in a different type of coaching, not so different. I think what you do is leadership coaching, but it helps people figure out the resources they already have or how to seek out the resources they need. But it's incredible. I love that you bring that up, where it's kind of like you're shining a light on what they already need or what they already have or have available to them. And when they get to that point where it's like a light bulb going off, it's like an aha moment, that realization that they had that power all along. It's infinitely rewarding to see that look on their face when they realize like the answer was there all along. They just needed that brainstorming partner to work alongside.
I want to tell you a story from my dad, who is a college professor, and he would do the exams with the graduate students when they'd come in and with their thesis and that. And he loved to get to the point where he could ask a question that they couldn't answer, but they knew how to get the answer. He wanted them to rely on not so much what they had learned already, except that they had learned enough to know how to go get what they need. I guess that's what scouting taught us. I think a lot of that is what the kind of units I was in the military taught me. The seminary taught me that. We're not going to give you all the answers here, but we're going to teach you Greek so you can look at the language yourself.
Literally teach you Greek.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Greek to me, and Hebrew
Yeah.
is even worse because it's written backwards. So the dyslexic students did really well in Hebrew.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a common appreciation across any point in life, because one of the most rewarding things with my kids, and they're 10, 7, and going to be 4 soon, is just kind of seeing their critical thinking turn up. Like, I ask them questions and kind of guide them along the way, but just to get them thinking and just, they're like little lawyers. They're much further along than I ever was at that age. So their critical thinking is there, and they'll challenge me right back, not in a bad or disrespectful way, but they'll call me out if I tell them something. They're like, well, that's not what you said before. Before you told me this because of this, this, and this. I'm like, easy there, Esquire. Relax.
I love it.
So
the thing with coaching, the next step there was masterminding. And the chief of staff in the 75th Division really taught me that 20-some years ago, almost 25 years ago now. He brought together the colonels in the division. We'd met in staff meetings during the week, formal military staff meetings where you make your reports and the general's there and that. But he brought us together on Friday mornings at breakfast at the Buffalo Grill, often in Houston, Texas, and said, what do you need from each other? Let's get to know each other. How can you help each other? And so it was that getting to know each other, seeing where the needs were, seeing where you had some resources somebody else didn't have, ask questions from people that you may be uncomfortable asking those at a staff meeting. And boy, did it make a difference in that division when we put our minds together in a military mastermind of all things here. In the best sense of mastermind, mastermind has kind of a dark understanding of it in some cases. This is the best understanding of that from Think and Grow Rich, his statement of the mastermind, where you put more than two heads together and you make a new head altogether. You make a new mind altogether with that. So,
yeah, I think whether it's a formal structure, an informal structure, meaning formal in an organization in the military, or informal where it's kind of people that in your network, but you don't work together necessarily.
Right.
I think we always forget how much, we could just pick each other's brains. Like, we always think that we have to get a consultant or we have to get a coach. We may be putting ourselves out of business, but the most incredible thing that I've realized in coaching is how much it just comes down to basic conversations, that it's not overcomplicated, but it's the way that we don't talk to each other, that I may ask a question, make an observation that no one else has really considered for that person or that they've considered for themselves. But it's incredible how you can just grab people, put them together and just be like, talk.
Yeah. And you get so much more experience, training, knowledge, books they've read, people they know, and bring all that to bear on an issue you're dealing with or an opportunity that's there for you. Our mastermind met last Friday all day in Orlando, 8 of us, and we deepened our relationship. We meet on Zoom once a week right now. It's a group of very successful entrepreneurs in the Orlando area. We get together in person periodically because Zoom is just 2 dimensions visually. And we can be with each other, go a little bit more in depth, spend a little bit more time with each other, eat together, laugh together. We took a walk around a lake in downtown Orlando together. And and go. Yeah. One of the questions we asked is one you asked earlier this past week was, where were the turning points in your life? What was going on? Who was there? What did you learn from that? What different direction did you take off because of that? And to look back over those in our life. So, yeah.
Harland, does it make sense from your childhood that this is what you're doing? I think I can connect certain dots, but for you, what kind of words or insights would you put to who you were as a kid and how Harland, little Harland, is showing up today?
Yeah. As a kid, I was never the biggest kid, the strongest kid. I held my own. Um, I was curious. We had a wonderful group of other kids in this neighborhood. We'd just show up. We didn't have organized ball. We just showed up at a field and we would either play football or soccer or baseball. If we had enough to make two teams, we'd make two teams. Maybe you'd have to pitch for the team that didn't have enough players. Maybe you'd have to rule that right field is out of bounds for any hits because you didn't have enough players to field. We just had a grand time together. I guess that's where I learned about being with a bunch of people with different skills, different abilities, and having fun doing it. Scouting, curious about the world and nighttime and fires and knot tying and cooking. And I remember George Jenkins, his way of cooking eggs till they were done was to put a dozen eggs in the pan with the water, get it to boiling, and every so often pull one out and throw it against a tree. When they quit just running down the edge of the tree, they were done.
And you're down to one egg.
Yeah. Yeah. So, George, that's probably not the best way. Let's figure out another way to do it.
Yeah.
But just, we had we could experiment in scouting. How many logs on a fire, keep it going. Yeah. So, a lot of things in my life was curious.
Harland, you shared about your dad some things. What about your mom? Because I'm always curious how family
Yeah.
life impacts who a person is, who they grow up to be, the values they hold.
Yeah, my mom and her parents were really important to me. My grandmother, particularly. Uh, my grandfather, who was this physician, church organist, and real estate investor down in the Miami area in Florida, had a grove and a number of houses and them. My mother was a preschool teacher. We marry our mothers, our dads, women marry their dads. So I married a preschool teacher, but she started preschool before it was a thing, before the public schools picked it up. My mom and dad bought a house with two double car garages, converted the garages into classrooms, got some other people together, and taught a bunch of preschoolers at our house. Now, I got really upset because they played with my toys, but I was really very blessed because we had swings and a jungle gym in the backyard that nobody else had. But I watched them try something that hadn't been done in our town. Had an idea, a vision, and then
like your continuing care.
Yeah, have an impact on all these people. I still run into people that remember going to the Merriam school as kids growing up and the impact the way it helped shape them. So yeah, that's my mom. I remember my mom I remember sitting with her in the balcony at church, oftentimes with my head on her lap. I would sleep during the sermon when I was a little kid. My dad would too in the choir, but he said he's closing his eyes to get rid of the visual distraction. But he did have one of the other tenors next to him punch him when the sermon was over. But that I got to tell you, the story just came to mind here, John, of a friend of mine, Vietnam War. He's in Vietnam. He's on guard duty. You got to stay awake when you're on guard duty. He had fallen asleep, but he was smart enough when the sergeant of the guard came by that when the sergeant guard walked up and woke up, he said, "Amen. Yes, Sergeant."
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah. Great guy, too. Yeah.
It's my side of that is just so ridiculous where like at night if I'm watching something with my wife on the couch and I pass out, as soon as it's over, I can tell she kind of shifts her weight because it's over. And I'll just wake up and just automatically laugh, like as if the last thing said on
Yeah.
TV was a joke. And she's like, "No, I know you were passed out like 15 minutes ago." So I'll
Good
wake
try,
up.
John.
I'll either laugh or I'll say, "Wow."
Yeah.
um,
You could try amen, see if that works.
I just stand at attention right away. Harlan, what do you, and that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing about your family and your background and the difference that your parents made in your community and people you still bump into. Harlan, for you, what do you consider your superpower?
These days, not always in my life, but these last decades have been slowing down, helping people slow down, listen, reflect, um, allow the deeper questions to come, and discover meaning and purpose. So many of us, this is such a busy, noisy world in which we live, and it distracts us. It tries to get our attention. Even work, even making a business work can just be total concentration on that. I find when people can slow down, reflect a bit, get in touch with deeper things, that it's an invitation to grow and find real meaning in life. I think that's my superpower these days.
Which, as you kind of alluded to, we need more of. So what is for you, what is your process? If it's not, too private for you to share, what's your process of slowing down, stepping back? What are the rituals that you have to kind of step away or what your self-care may be for yourself?
Yeah. For me, John, I walk quite a bit. I walk often early in the morning, sometimes before daylight. Every Saturday, Tom, a friend of mine, we walk in a nature reserve here, and we run some too. We ran a 10-miler at Thanksgiving. So even when we're running, can you run and slow down? I don't know. But even when we're running, it's a time to slow down. We talk with each other. We ask each other questions. We observe what's going on. We're out walking. We do the same reserve just about every Saturday. And we were out the other day, and I said, "Isn't this boring? We walk the same places. We run the same places every week, every Saturday." And Tom says, "It could be, but actually it changes every week. The sunrise is different. There are different birds coming out of the water. There might be an alligator in the water. There might be a couple of sandhill cranes with a young chick, some rabbits on the trail, longer grass, uh, different cloud formations. The fog these last couple of weeks has just been fascinating to observe. So slow down, reflect, observe, allow life to come at you."
Yeah, I mean, there's another example of that paradox, of a paradox where it's kind of like the same path, but your friend pointed out that so much just looks different. And it's amazing just in driving your usual drives, whether it's to work or wherever it may be, that you don't notice things when you look to the side. You're so focused on the path forward, or maybe you're just on cruise control. Like there have been times where I look over and see something and wondered if it was always there, whether it's a
Yeah.
house or whatever it may be. So
Mhm.
I love that observation.
Yeah, cruise control. It's a wonderful gift and yeah. And you picked out the other side of it there too.
Yeah. Harlan, before we jump into your book, last question, this side of the book,
Right.
what does leadership mean to you? How do you put words to it? I've heard so many great examples from your story. What's great about this is I've had people come back to the series and I ask them the same question and their definitions shift. So I'm
Mhm.
curious what leadership means to you and maybe also for you because of the history that you have, the different organizations, the different missions. What does leadership mean to you and how has your definition evolved over time?
Oh, it definitely has evolved over time. Leadership used to mean being in charge, being up front, being the captain of that pickup baseball team that forms, and another captain there, and running your hand up the bat to find out who calls first, and then who's going to be on my team and your team. So being in control. Even I would even say that was in high school. To run for student body president was, look at me, leadership. Uh, I wish I'd learned what I knew now back then. So I could have been a different leader in those times. Even, in the military, leadership was responsibility. I guess I learned that an awful lot. I was a chaplain, so I wasn't the platoon leader or the company commander or the battalion commander in that sense. But I watched the weight of responsibility they had for the people in their command and the mission that they're given by the command above them. That responsibility really weighed on them tremendously. So I think leadership is one, power. Two is responsibility. I think it's come around to me, and it'll come out as we look at the book here, to serving, that leadership is serving, seeing needs, and finding a way to serve those needs, often through the people that you're commanding, that are in your chain of command there. It is their needs as well in your company, in your business, taking care of them, noticing them. But it really is that new eye that you have, that I'm here not so much, I'm quoting Jesus here now in this one, to be served, but to serve. And that's more and more over the last decades has been where I see leadership.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. So, Harlan, now we can jump into your book. Why don't you first introduce the book, the full title,
Mhm.
and then how the book came to be? Where were you in your journey when you maybe thought about the book and when you actually pulled the trigger on actually getting down to writing the book? So, anything you can share about the book before we dive into the details would be great.
Sure. The main title is Prophet Seeks Purpose. Prophet. So I'll be prophet seeks purpose. Seeks purpose. There's the verb, seeking something different than profit. Seeks purpose. The subtitle is How to Make Money Without Losing Your Soul. And I realize for some faith people that faith's not a big thing for them. Soul may be one of these words, but one translation of that, how not to lose yourself, your real self. How to make a profit without losing your real self. How to do well in life without losing your real self. That's what the book's subtitle is moving toward there. How to have success, to do well without losing yourself. I still remember a young couple that I entered into. I married them. They had children, but they sought things. They sought to keep up with the Joneses, as we used to say. They got the better car. They got the better house. They got a boat. And they thought that would satisfy them. And it didn't. It actually destroyed their marriage and as parents with the children, because it was all about things. um, I guess that still is sticking with me. That's a long time ago. Um, yeah. So I guess that's the book. It's a modern business fable. It's fiction. It's a story. We follow a very successful real estate investor. I wonder why I wrote about that. Uh, he gets the biggest deal of his life. He's been looking at this piece of property for a long time, and it finally becomes available, and he underwrites it and realizes he can do it and gathers the folks together for it, gets the attorneys and the accountants and everybody else together and is able to close and closes on it. And the next morning he wakes up and can't sleep very well and walks down to his home office and sits there almost in the dark and says, "This doesn't feel like I expected it to feel. What now?" I think that is universal, not just with real estate investors or entrepreneurs, although I'm writing this book for entrepreneurs primarily. Those things happen with the students at Stetson that are getting ready to graduate. They're going to find out this is not what I thought it would be when they step out.
Yeah.
When I finally got to retirement, John, it wasn't what I expected it to be, partly because I reshaped it. There's a sense of a new identity that comes when you reach certain goals in life, when you get married, when you have kids, when you get a promotion.
When for you, just jumping in, Harland, retirement, you just mentioned that it didn't feel like you thought it would feel. How long into retirement? What did retirement look like when you actually retired? And then when did it start to feel like something was off or missing or whatever the word may be?
Yeah. I played golf more before I retired than since I've retired. I expected to be playing golf a lot more because that's what you're supposed to do when you retire to Florida.
Yeah.
Go play golf every day. One of the deepest things was identity, John. Who am I now? I was able to answer that question up to that point. I'm a pastor. I'm a teacher. I'm a minister. I'm a whatever it is. Now what? Who am I now? It took me a good while to actually tell a group of other Christians that I've been meeting with every week that I'm in real estate now. It was almost embarrassing to tell them that because it wasn't how they saw me. And I was beginning to see myself and claiming that, owning that. It's kind of like coming out of the closet in a sense there. I'm a business person now. And then it was that just claiming of those two together that was when they finally melded back together again that this chapter in my life has really come together well.
So did it feel somewhat, because you're a business person, obviously people want to seek a profit, a going concern. So did you feel dirty in kind of mentioning, hey, this is my new route, this is my new endeavor, like it was turning away, that you were concerned that people would think it was turning away from your soul to go make the dollar kind of thing?
Yeah. Internally, I was feeling that. One of the great things about doing this, John, was why didn't I understand those business people that I was in a congregation as their pastor better? Now that I understand what they're going through, what they're living, what they're dealing with all week long at work primarily, I'm glad I've gone into it. And I call it marketplace ministry now versus just the religious ministry there. To be out in the marketplace every day, and actually, I think I'm having as much or more impact now in that than I was as a pastor. I did well as a pastor, as a chaplain, no question. But there's something deeper with the people particularly the entrepreneurs that I'm with these days, that I'm able to provide a ministry.
So was there a particular moment, Harland, where you made that realization, where it kind of clicked that you could have both sides of that seemingly a paradox, that you could live both worlds? Was there a moment that you came to that realization that you could make it, that it was possible and that it wasn't a bad thing?
Yes. It actually took a mastermind I was in of real estate people to bring that, where we were talking about these deeper issues in life out there, along with how to underwrite and how to be creative and how to raise money and all the other things that were there, manage properties. But in that context of that mastermind with those other real estate investors primarily and operators, I came to see who they were and who I was, and this is okay. And I still remember going to that group at church, and I got something I got to tell you. I, my name is Harland, and I'm a real estate investor.
Yeah.
Because it almost came across as, yeah.
How'd you feel? Like that weight had been lifted that you could
Yeah,
admit?
I needed to say that. What I've found since then is people at church don't understand. For some reason, we don't have. There's something missing there where we don't understand the business people. They don't feel understood, and there's out in the entrepreneur world, people don't understand the religious people. That's why I wrote the book, because it talks about aligning those two together. This guy in the book here, Caleb Anderson, gets an invitation. He is a non-religious person in chapter 1. He hasn't prayed. He hasn't gone to church. He doesn't read the Bible. He gets invited to a group of peers. He finds out they pray and he rolls his eyes. He hears them quote scripture one day when they're meeting, and he says, I thought you were more sophisticated than that. And but eventually, just in their own integrity of who they are, he learned there is this alignment that can happen rather than separation that we've talked about it with science and religion or with truth and God or whatever along the way here.
Yeah, I think that's what gets so lost in anytime religion gets brought up is people have their preconceived notions of what that looks like.
Oh, yeah.
And then most people on the religious side kind of play into those notions because it's about what they share, but they don't go both sides. They don't go deeper into having the other side understand where they're coming from. It's kind of just
Right.
what you see on the surface, whether it's the crucifix on one side or it's the dollar sign on the other, and you just kind of assign something to that
Yes.
symbol and that person. And then it's like anything else in life right now, Harlan. It's kind of like, unless you have the label that I have, whatever it may be,
Right. Oh, yeah.
I'm blocked out to whatever you're saying because this is where I stand. Like very rarely do you hear a conversation like this where someone's telling you, I was conflicted, but I did the research. I looked inside myself. I was having my own self battles,
Mm-hmm.
but I got to the point where I could understand the other side. And now I kind of want to share what both sides have, but you never see, we're so programmed that way that this is my label. That's yours and that's that. So I love the fact that you lived in both those worlds. And so there's no better person to write a book that helps them reconcile.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's a huge service, this kind of writing, this kind of book to the public.
Yeah, if I can come back to the university, it's a lot of what we do in the university too. The big terms are deconstruction and reconstruction of faith in my parts in the university. And it's a big part of what happens when you're 18, 19, 20 years old. You're finally able to question what your mother told you to do, what the preacher
Yeah.
was saying that Sunday when you disagreed with them and that. And now you're in a spot where it's okay to kind of bash or question or doubt some things
Break
along the way.
down.
That's the deconstruction side. And it's an important piece. I've deconstructed all my life. I didn't quit when I was 21 years old. I kept asking questions. And one of the neat things, about 2 weeks ago, I was sitting with a dozen of us. There's a Hindu, some Jewish people, some agnostics in the room, some Catholics, Protestants. We're having this discussion. How can we talk to each other? And it came back to something you almost said there a little while ago. We can listen to each other.
Yeah.
If we'll stop talking to each other or talking at each other.
At each other, yes.
And start listening, So I hear the sadness that, some Jewish friends have. I just celebrated the Seder last week with the Jewish community here on campus. 3-hour, wonderful, symbolic, rich meal with lots of laughter, 4 glasses of wine. It was a nice evening. Good food, a lot of fun. About 2 weeks before, I celebrated with about 50 Muslims as they broke the Ramadan fast, the last fast of Ramadan together.
Yeah.
In a culture that doesn't even know what that is when they came out of these cultures, when they came to this country, or they're in some places of this country, where they're in communities where that is who they are. But I said, I'm curious. Tell me some more about this. And I'm open. Talk to me some more. And we got to know each other. So just that openness to each other is a big piece. With
Absolutely.
yeah,
And I hope to see it modeled now, because it seems whoever has the biggest platform, just generalizing, typically is going to be one side, because the biggest platforms are driven by revenue and dollars. So they have to keep to their message. So it's community conversations like what you're sharing. I mean, that's where it's going to take place. That's where it's going to build up from.
yeah, it's learning how to do that. I think we've forgotten how to do it.
Yeah,
And we've probably been told you've got a message you got to share rather than you've got people you got to go get to know.
exactly. Exactly. And
Yeah.
by going to get to know them, nothing is going to be taken away from you.
No,
Your
nope.
stock's not going to go down. Your credibility's not going to go down. No one's going to take anything from you. I think a lot of it is, driven by fear, where if you open up, people fear that something will be taking that more credence, that you're giving more to another side by listening, that it takes away somehow from what you want to share. But
Yeah,
listen, we'll get
just
there one conversation by conversation.
yeah, it's good old 7 habits of highly effective people. That one in there of seek to understand before being understood. Wasn't it great
Yeah,
that Stephen Covey had that as one of the principles that really helps in business, being successful, uh, effective is to seek to understand. To understand doesn't mean you agree.
exactly. You can
It's
even debate. You can even debate.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
No, there's nothing like a friendly debate.
There you go. There you go.
I
Yeah.
like those constructive confrontations where you just kind of, okay, tell me your point. You kind of even, not raising your voice, but just arguing your points back and forth.
Yeah. I was
Harlan,
with
when it comes,
somebody. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. I was with somebody last night that husband and wife. We're in a small group at church, just enjoying an evening of Easter meal together. None of us had kids in town, and so let's just meet at somebody's house and potluck a meal together and talk. And one of the pieces there was this one other husband and wife where the husband said, when I was getting to know my wife, when we were dating, boy, her family argued all the time. And she says, we didn't argue. We just talked honestly to each other. uh,
Yeah,
that the culture in her family was, if you got something to say it. And everybody just lived with that honesty. Yeah, I guess yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
no, I believe in that. I think that was the way that I was raised, was just kind of, I have relatives that just come out and say what they're thinking. And
Mhm.
relatives tend to be that way, right? But so I think that's informed a lot of who I am as a person, where people have called me opinionated. I like to think I don't do it in a toxic or acerbic way, anything like that. It's just, I think it sounds um like tough love or tough just because I say it. So I just say it kind of matter of factly, like, this is what I
Mhm.
see. But
Mhm.
I'm always open to a conversation, but because I think there's a lot of respect in pointing out what you see and maybe disagree with, especially if you feel, and you'll work through it, but if you feel that it could help somebody else, and you'll learn in the process.
Yeah,
Um,
stay in that relationship. We did retreats with soldiers coming back from overseas, linking up with their spouses again, and a reunion kind of retreat weekend. A nice place. one of the things we shared there was a little thing. If you're having an argument that's getting toxic, tell your spouse, I'm leaving, but I'll be back.
Time out.
I don't want to stay here in this and have it just get worse and worse and worse. So I'm going to be leaving right now, but I will be back. The key is, but I will be back. I need to go cool off. I need to go take a walk around the block. I need to go, do something, but I'll be back. Because, yeah.
That's the other side of it is I've had this conversation on here before, the intention versus the impact. So there's that self-awareness. What I intend to say is not going to land well if I stay in this emotion. So I got to take off and come back. Yeah. We're clumsy. We're humans. We're monkeys. We don't always get it right. So I think we have to give each other, you've probably obviously heard that word before, grace.
Yes.
In saying, okay, this person, I can kind of tell what they're meaning to say. They're not quite landing it right, but I'll keep listening and hopefully they'll correct me or they'll guide me on my language and how it's reaching them. But I appreciate people that can say that. At this point, I just got to step away just for a little bit, but I'll be back.
There you go. Yeah. 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 I'm going to do something I'll not be real happy about if I stay right here right now. Emotions have gotten me, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harland, so for you, I'm curious, always curious about the authors that I have on the show. Obviously, this is like your life's work in terms of the connection between business and investing and real estate and your pastoral duties and your environments, the way that you've led other people on that side of your life. So this is your bread and butter. This is your knowledge base. This is your wheelhouse. But even in writing this, what evolved in you in putting this together? What may have changed in you in getting this book out there? What did you learn? How did you evolve?
Yeah, a couple of things. One was the choice, because I'm pretty good at making a list. Here are the 3 key things you need to know. But the power of story is something that just re-hit me. I've been telling stories all my life. As a preacher, you tell stories, you tell illustrations. You illustrate things. Jesus was a great storyteller in his parables. So the power of story. So I chose to put the book in the form of a story because I think it's more accessible to people and it encourages them to walk along with the characters in the story. I've had several people say, it's been like a mirror for me, Harland, to see myself at an older, he's in his 80s, retired guy that says, Harland, that was me. And he's able to look back on his life and see himself. I'm getting ready to go to a retirement community this Thursday. They see, even though the book is written for 30, 40-year-olds, entrepreneurs, in business, they have realized they've got some profit, some experience, some wealth, some knowledge. What am I supposed to do with that now? And so they want to talk about the book for them. They saw themselves in the book, even though the book wasn't about them. So, that's one piece here, is that I learned the power of story again as a way to communicate. What else did I learn about me? It's a funny thing, John, but I've been a preacher, so I haven't had to spell words or get punctuation correctly. In fact, speaking punctuation is very different than writing punctuation. So I was a little bit nervous about actually putting it down on paper for people to actually see. And did I get all the words spelled right? Of course, there are some wonderful apps these days that can help you, Grammarly, and others that help you make sure it's spelled right and everything else. But it was funny how much that was a fear of, if I put it out there, people will see it.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of crazy? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the medium itself where you're spending your life as chaplain, as pastor, as minister,
Yeah.
reading, studying, but then when you communicated mostly with others, it's,
Mhm.
you're up in front of people and leading them and verbally. So I can imagine, I didn't even think of that when you sit down
Yeah.
and you start writing it, you're like, okay, me speaking it from the heart. I'm writing it from the heart, but there's more rules here. It's not one long, the way we talk is one long run on sentence sometimes. So I get that
Yeah.
completely.
That's the funny part of it. The wonderful part I've learned about me is in the writing is the discipline. I mean, it was hours and hours and hours. I've written all my life, a whole lot more than the book is, but it was the hours and hours of getting it right, talking with other authors, letting them read it and give me feedback, walking with a really good friend who read it in its beta format, and his just direct honesty with me, and therefore I'd go back and adjust and change some things because I was able to see it through his eyes rather than my own now. And that was a good process too, is be open to, call it criticism if you will, but people that were there to help me do the best I can, because I wanted the book, I didn't want anything in the book to trip people up. I want the message, the story to draw them in and to go all the way to the end in the story there, um, so that they can get in process with those deeper questions that are part of their life that Caleb works through in the story.
Harland, what was the moment or the period in your life when you're like, okay, I definitely have to commit this to a book? Was it a
Mhm,
conversation? I'm assuming the great partnership you've had with your wife, that conversation took place with, in part,
mhm,
her.
mhm.
But what did that look like when you decided, okay, I have to commit this, my knowledge and what I want to share, and that reconciliation between those two worlds? What did that decision, what did that process look like for you?
And the actual process was we had a half day in the mastermind in Orlando. It was amazing how powerful that 6 hours together was for all of us, each of us individually, all of us together. I get back on the commuter train to come back to DeLand, Sunrail here. I'm sitting on the train and say, "Oh, I wish more people could experience what we've just experienced. I wonder if I could start a second group or a third group." And then I realized at some point I can't start any more groups. I just don't have enough time. How can I share what we're experiencing here in a way that others might both slow down themselves, get in with some other people so they're not doing life alone, get some people that create a safe space for them that they can have these honest, direct conversations and get support, and begin to make incremental, small changes in life that really add up over time. So on the train, it came to me as I'm riding back on the train. One nice thing about a train is you can sit and think and take your eyes off the road
Yeah.
and pause and slow down and says, I need to write a book, and it needs to be a story, and I'll set it here in Central Florida. And yeah, and just one after another, and I began to write down what it might look like and how it might flow, where the arc of the story might go. Um, and then it was the fun part of creating the characters and their own individual arcs within it, and especially Caleb's daughter, Sophia, who is just so wise for a youngster, little girl.
Sometimes they are. They just see what's there that you're avoiding, that you don't see, and they'll call it like it is. I
Yeah,
mean, you're
I don't
surrounded
want
by wisdom, your elders as well as the
to.
youth
Yeah,
around you.
so she's learning to play piano. I'm not going to give away too much in the book here, but she's learning to play piano. She has a great piano teacher. And at one point, Caleb is really upset that night after, or that yeah, the night after he did so well in that closing. And he's sitting in his office and he's almost weeping. And she walks in needing a glass of water, sees him weeping, and they talk. And he says, I just want to do life better, Sophia. And she says, you mean like hearing the music instead of just playing the notes? And she says, where did you get that? Well, my piano teacher told me that this week.
Yeah,
But she
exactly.
was the channel that brought it to him at just the right time. He's not listening to the music. Um, he can play the notes well. He can underwrite a property well. He can run a
Yeah,
team, but he's not hearing the music. Yeah,
when you're going through those motions.
yeah. It's
Harlan,
profit with its purpose. Yeah.
yeah. Harlan,
Yeah.
for you, aside from the Bible, obviously I can imagine, what book has inspired or made the most impact on you?
One is The Go-Giver, which is again a modern business fable story. I didn't put The Go-Giver down when I started reading it. Just it drew me in, just chapter after chapter of that guy who wanted to close out the quarter, top of his game as a salesperson. And he goes each day to be with another person and learn something every day that changes the way he gets to the sale. It's about values, what you value, rather than winning at any price.
Yeah.
uh, that was one. I think Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, coming out of World War II, realizing that the real search ought to be for meaning in life, not for just success, not just for results, but for meaning. What's the meaning? What's the purpose? What's the meaning? And I think Frankel's amazing book.
Yeah.
Halftime by Bob Buford is another one where he says, from success to significance, crossing that gap in life. Is what you're doing significant? Does it count? uh, it may get you the car you want. It may get you the vacation you want, but does it really count in the bigger picture? Yeah.
Great question to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot to ask Harlan, so what do you think is next for your writing, if anything?
I'm already thinking about what it is. Caleb meets a young man named John in the very last chapter, and I'm thinking about picking this there, but that'll be a while. Right now, I'm focusing on the people that are reading the book right now. I want to find a way to help the people that read the book and see themselves there slow down, ask those deeper questions, find some other people to link up with in a circle or a mastermind so that they can get the results, the benefits that we're seeing in what we're doing and what Caleb sees in the book itself, what they can read in the book.
Amazing. Harlan, so in wrapping up, what are you up to these days? Is there anything else you want to share that I might not have asked? I'll share with the postings all your links to the book, anything else that you provide. But if there's anything you want to share here, the floor is yours.
Again, I love meeting people. So if anybody's watching this and they want to come to DeLand, we got an Airbnb and love to host you here and just get to know you. I've gotten to know so many people through the years of having them come in and stay on the property with us. Get in touch. I'm available. I'm Off the Rat Race is another book. Talks about their Rich Dad Poor Dad, getting out of the rat race. I'm out of the rat race, so I can just focus on the people that are in front of me right now. I would encourage people both to get the book. So many parents have bought the book for their adult children. I've got people that are buying it for the people in their business, the other people they work with in their business, and having conversations as a business around it. Get a hold of the book. There's a book club over in Europe that's picking it up in May to read together, and I'll join them on a Zoom call as they do. So, yeah, take a look and see. It's Profit Seeks Purpose on Amazon. You'll get the links in what you have there. Walk alongside the people in the story and see if you see yourself in there. I guess that's what I would encourage people to do.
Amazing. And again, the book is Profit Seeks Purpose, How to Make Money Without Losing Your Soul. Harlan, thank you so much for this conversation, for your time, your insights. I appreciate it, my friend.
I've enjoyed our conversation here today and hope the people listening will get some benefit out of it as well, John. Thank you for being you.
Thank you so much. And if there's anything that I might have missed, let me know. There's so much to cover, so little time. But if there's something you're curious about, let me know. I'll reach out to Harlan, see what kind of insights, guidance, wisdom, anything at all I can get back. In the meantime, thank you for watching, listening, and subscribing, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.